Welcome to the Thanksgiving edition of Preps Plus Extra. How you doing? I'm Mark Stewart, Prep Editor of the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Joining me again, as always, J.R. Radcliffe, Sports Editor of Now Newspapers. Big week off the field for us, holiday season. But before we do that, we're going to review, obviously, the state football championship games. Congratulations to Arrowhead winning its second straight Division I state title. Tight game with Franklin, even though the score didn't really indicate.
I was really impressed. Midway through that game, I was turning to my colleagues saying, I really don't know who's going to win this game. And I think we all went in there expecting Arrowhead was going to be the better team, and ultimately that is how it shook out. But 17-17 after Franklin scores a touchdown, kind of midway through the third quarter, early part of the third quarter. And then Arrowhead marches down the field and scores. Johnny Duranzo, sophomore quarterback, really basically his profile just blew up because he had a great game, threw for what would have been a record for yards in a D1 title game if Sean McGuire of Franklin hadn't actually eclipsed his mark, threw for 250 by the end of the game. But Duranzo had a great game, throws a touchdown pass, then on the ensuing possession, intercepted by Charlie Reutemann. He returns it 44 yards to the house. Now Arrowhead's up 2 scores and they coast from there. So it was really much closer than what a 45-24 score might indicate.
Yeah, it's one of those games that it really shows how one or two plays really can change the momentum of the game, because as you know, Franklin, the score was 17-17. Franklin's driving. Mm-hmm. Sean McGuire was really, in that offense, it really, I think at that point it put together 3, if you don't count the drive to end at the first half where they kind of were in desperation mode, they had scored 3 straight times against Arrowhead's defense, and they were on their way to a 4th. Then Arrowhead forces a turnover, and things really went downhill from there. But that said, I mean, there was a little controversy. I wouldn't call it a little controversy. It depends if you're in Franklin.
There's a lot of controversy.
Yeah, if you're in Franklin, there was a lot of controversy because one of the key plays of that turnaround was the interception return by Reutemann that was or wasn't. Officially it was a touchdown, but the replay showed that he actually he lost the ball around the 2 yard line. Which kind of led to some questions of, replay in high school football. And I don't know if it's possible, but it's an interesting thought.
Right, especially the state title game is filmed with, Fox is there and they're shooting these games. The camera crews are all professionals that will cover games like Badger games at Camp Randall Stadium. So we're talking about pretty high-level equipment, high-level replay. This isn't like what you would see in a normal high school football game. This isn't a local cable access or something. So I don't really have a problem with it. And the reason to not have it, I think, is consistency. You're not going to get replay at any of the sectional games, any of the regular season games, and I understand that. But I would think on a play like that, which could potentially, you could argue, turn the tide so much that it could have been a completely different game had that interception been ruled a fumble and a touchback, which is what it should have been.
Right.
I don't see a problem with having replay. I think you just say, you know what, consistency is one thing, but this is a state title game. Let's actually get it right when it's the biggest moments of the year.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought, but I mean, obviously, I don't think it'll ever happen.
No, I don't
unless, because who's going to do the booth review. But it was definitely, you go from, a 14-point, 2-touchdown deficit to maybe Franklin saying, okay, sure, we had a turnover, but we still got a chance. And as I noted before, that offense was really rolling there for a while. And who knows, maybe with a second life, they would have gone down and put some more points on.
And maybe Arrowhead wins big anyway. They had 2 long touchdown runs after that to really put some distance between them and Franklin. I think it's still safe to say Arrowhead was the better team. They're the team that came up with 4 turnovers, but you wonder. You felt the momentum of that game. It was just different after that point. And we were talking off air. There was a moment in the D3 game where a touchdown from Greendale could have potentially been overturned, and that could have changed the complexion of that game, which was a 4-point spread by the end.
Right. But that said, nonetheless, congratulations to the Arrowhead Warhawks. Winning 2 straight state titles, especially at the Division I level, is nothing to sneeze at, especially given the season they had and the way they really performed strongly in the Classic 8. But let's hear what the champs have to say.
Last year was special, but this year being my senior year, I can't even describe the feeling. First team to win back-to-back since 1993 when we did it, but the feelings can't even describe. It's definitely the best day of my life.
Yeah, we're not the same team as last year. Last year we could pretty much do whatever we wanted. We had Dom Tottarello, Brady Keller was a great quarterback. This year we had to use our weapons, and we came through.
It's just been the way the year has gone. We just kind of start tipping people at some point, and and they did it. It's a tough group of kids, I think people sometimes, this whole idea of, however many D1s they claim we have and all that, it's not that. They're just gritty and tough and really kind of blue collar, to be honest with you. And this is what they've done all year. It's not a big scheme thing. They just start wearing people out and toughing it out.
Well, JR, you touched on Greendale and Monona Grove in Division III. Heartbreaking loss for the Panthers. They were up 17-0. Things were looking great. And then Monona Grove, as they've kind of done throughout the playoffs, came back and, really stole, I won't say stole the game, but they really snatched victory away from Greendale.
I think I came away from that game feeling like Monona Grove was the better team, simply because in the first half, they made 3 trips to the red zone that came up empty. Now, you have to credit Greendale's defense for stopping them and forcing turnovers, and I thought where Greendale made the plays in the first half, this really was a game about playmaking. And in the second half, Monona Grove gets 2 long touchdowns, scores again with 53 seconds on the clock, and we're just hanging around long enough to come back and win. So it's one of those baffling outcomes. You're kind of watching it unfold. It doesn't happen quickly, but it just, I don't know. I never felt like, Greendale's got this game. I felt that way throughout. Once halftime came in, it was 17-0 Panthers. I felt like Greendale had it, and it never really even crossed my mind that wasn't the case. Even as Monona Grove is driving for what ended up being the go-ahead score, I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't figure out how Greendale wasn't going to win. So it's a disappointing outcome for them. This is the second time they've been to the state championship game, and both outcomes have been gut-wrenching losses. They lost 7-3 in 2006 on a touchdown with 4 minutes to go in that game. So they really have been snake bitten a little bit at Camp Randall Stadium, and it's too bad. Phenomenal team that had a great year. But Monona Grove, undefeated, nothing to sneeze at. They have a D1 lineman in Jaden Galt, and they were able to move the ball when it mattered. They made plays.
Yeah, and after the game, that was kind of the theme of what Rob Stoltz, talked about. We touched on that play where Angel Ramirez throws that halfback option pass to Mitchell Breeze in the end zone, and the official rules it incomplete. It looked like maybe he, it was going to be close either way. But it's one of those things, okay, where, maybe if the pass is, a couple inches higher, it's a touchdown. And then, what a swing. The next play, they switch at the start of the fourth quarter. Greendale gets an interception in the end zone, or Greendale, throws an interception in the red zone, and therefore they don't even get a chance to kick a field goal, and they have a pretty good, had a pretty good kicker there.
Yeah, that was a big turn of events. Now, Josh Ringelberg did have a really good game. He also set the Division III state record for passing yardage in a title game. I think combined, the two teams were setting a record. There were a lot of records that fell offensively in both the D1 and the D3 title game. Ringelberg connected with Nate Miller for a 97-yard touchdown. It's the longest in state history, longest offensive play in state history for a score. So there were some exciting moments, and there was a lot of offense, even not necessarily on the scoreboard, but just on the field.
Yeah. Like I say, I always came away thinking they were just going to make, they just needed one more play,
right?
One more sort of momentum shift, and it could have been theirs. But nonetheless, they had a phenomenal season. Mm-hmm. They beat Franklin, they beat Cedarburg early in the year, went undefeated, won the first Woodland Conference championship game. So there's nothing to be, although it's a disappointing end, those guys have nothing to be ashamed about as far as, what they did on the field this year.
Yep, state record or school record for wins, 13, so not bad, 13-1.
Right. As we noted earlier, it is Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. So that said, obviously we have a lot to be thankful for, great families. But come Thanksgiving, we're gonna have a lot to be thankful for. Hopefully, when the dinner is served. Mm-hmm. So that said, tell me what you're looking forward to when the dinner bell rings.
Well, there's the two food groups, of course: sweet potatoes and mashed potatoes. They're my two favorite things in the world. So I'm looking forward to a lot of that and watching some more football, of the NFL variety. That's obviously something we look forward to every year. I'll be in Detroit. I'll be watching the game at Ford Field. Hopefully the Packers can squeak out a victory finally.
Okay, look for him wearing a cheese head.
Mm-hmm, that's right.
Yes. And I guess what I'm always look forward to with my family is, one of my wife's uncles makes a great caramel cake. Shout out to John Paul out there. Hope you feel better. And that's, everyone knows that's my favorite. It doesn't matter the season. 4th of July, Labor Day, Christmas, Easter. Hey,
Tuesday.
Tuesday. If caramel cake is involved, I'm there. But that's going to wrap it up for this week's edition of Preps Plus Extra. For more Preps Plus action, watch me and Lance Allen every Sunday night on TMJ4. Take care.